Today, I'm going to present part of the research that a team integrated by people from two different divisions from ZEISS, the Industrial Quality Solutions and the Research Microscopy Solutions, has performed to bring high-precision dimensional metrology to 3D X-ray microscopy with instruments that can achieve high-resolution imaging capabilities in the order of nanometers or submicron level. In practice, for X-ray CT metrology, the measurement process is composed of basically three steps. First, an operator selects the settings of scanning for the part based on the geometry, the size, and composition. Then the CT machine rotates the part 360 degrees while taking snapshots or image projections at different angular positions. And after collecting several projections at regular spatial positional steps, a software reconstruction is going to generate a three-dimensional model of the part's volume. This can be used for non-destructive inspection or quality control of several applications. But if we want to do dimensional metrology, we need to perform one additional step, which involves the creation of a strategy of measurement with a software that uses kind of a coordinate measurement strategy to obtain accurate measurements. And these dimensional measurements can be then summarized in a final report to make comparisons to dimensional tolerances of the part and determine any deviations from the original design. And that's what we call dimensional metrology with X-ray CT or CAT scan. Remember, this is how this technology was originally called in the medical industry. CAT meaning computer-aided tomography. And I have to make a little warning here. Please don't put the CAT inside of the X-ray machine. This is my own CAT, so we better don't do that. My wife will be really mad at me if something happens to the CAT. X-ray metrology has been limited to traditional micro-CT using projection-based systems that are basically composed of an X-ray source and a detector and a rotation stage to place the part. And the imaging resolutions of such system is limited to something around 2 microns in the best conditions. Nothing has been done until now in the field of dimensional metrology with systems that can deliver submicron resolution capabilities. At least nothing with an industrial type of system. But there is a possibility. If we use 3D X-ray microscopes, this is something we have done recently with my team at ZEISS. And the main difference of the so-called X-ray microscopes as compared to traditional projection-based micro-CT systems is that they include a set of lenses to add optical magnification capabilities, additional to the traditional geometrical magnification. And this allowed achieving submicron resolution capabilities. With traditional X-ray CT system, it is difficult to achieve that. They are typically limited to resolutions in the order of 2 microns in the best possible conditions for very small samples. But this is not a problem with the 3D X-ray microscopes, especially the ones that we build in-house, because they have something that we call resolution at a distance that can keep high resolution for even larger samples. Now, you have probably already seen this question popping up in my slides, which says, can we measure with higher resolution 3D X-ray microscopes? And the answer to that question is and has been, yes, of course, we can measure. In fact, it is quite common to see a scale accompanying the 3D microscopy images. And you can see that right here. But the question is, how accurate is that scale? When I'm asking this question, I'm specifically alluding to the metrology terminology. We can we can do high precision metrology. The question more exactly is, can we do high precision metrology with 3D X-ray microscopes? And the answer today is yes, because we found a way to do it with a metrology solution that can be implemented in 3D X-ray microscopes. In this video, you will see a little bit of the workflow, which is a semi-automated workflow, basically follows a recipe with some predefined steps to be performed. The first thing that needs to be done is a detector calibration with a grid array that allows the system to create a distortion map and to correct for it if necessary. You are currently seeing an image of the source and the detector position in the upper right of your window. And you can see that after the detector calibration is finished, then a multi-sphere phantom can be placed in between the source and the detector, and the machine will start collecting image projections, which will be used for the 3D reconstruction. The 3D reconstruction will be opened by Calypso, which is a metrology software that we created at ZEISS. Calypso is going to open the 3D data reconstruction and compare it against the nominal geometry of the XRM phantom by overlapping one set of data on top of the other. Then it will measure about 35 different center to center distances and compare these distances against these measured values against the reference values or calibrated data. And this comparison will allow the system to create a trumpet plot, which will determine if the accuracy verification for dimensional measurements pass or fail. Of course, if the data deviations lie below 1.9 micron, which was the case here, the system is well calibrated and the system is ready to be used for measuring samples in the prefixed work space of the 5 millimeter field of view. The user can basically put the sample inside of the machine, perform the scans to obtain the 3D volume voxel data after reconstruction. Dimensional measurements can then be performed based in such voxel data, knowing with enough confidence that such measurements will be accurate. And this is one of the typical applications. For example, is a smartphone camera lens assembly with geometries not accessible to traditional tactile or optical CMMs. And there are several other examples in which this metrology solution we are proposing for 3D X-ray microscopes can be used. So basically, now you have the capability of doing both high-resolution imaging capabilities, microscopy, plus metrology. So you can do both at once now. So here are some of the unique features of the metrology solution that allow us now to do high accurate dimensional measurements with 3D X-ray microscope. First, we preserve the well-known high-resolution image capabilities of the 3D X-ray microscopes. This allows us to reveal the smallest features of a part at high resolution, and in addition to that, now we can measure them accurately. Now we can do high-resolution metrology tasks with 3D X-ray microscopes, highly repeatable and accurate measurements, basically. Using a simple workflow, a simple semi-automated calibration workflow. And we have now the highest accuracy specification that we could provide for 3D X-ray metrology, with the unique capability of merging microscopy and metrology capabilities in order to do high-resolution imaging plus high-precision and high-accuracy metrology capabilities. This is, of course, the only solution of its kind in the 3D X-ray metrology field. So we have gone from high resolution and high precision to accurate measurement capabilities with 3D X-ray microscopes by adding this metrology solution built at ZEISS in collaboration between two different teams, the industrial quality solution and the research microscopy solution divisions of our company.
Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us for our live Q&A session for all of our presenters. I got to say, I really enjoyed everybody's presentations this year. It was, a very different experience than sitting in a big crowded convention hall. I got to sit at home with my hound dog sitting next to me as I watched these presentations and took notes. But they were very impressive. They were well thought out. And I would say the biggest surprise for me from this second cohort here, our second group of presenters, Arminzo, good to see you, was the Chris Jamieson before and after reveal. That was impressive. That gave me a little bit of a chuckle. So what I want to do real quick before we get started is let me make sure everyone's unmuted. Let's see, unmuted. Okay. So quickly, I want to introduce our CMSC panelists, the guys that are going to be asking questions. So I'm Justin Novak. I work at Newport News Shipbuilding. I've been in the metrology field for about 15 years. And my current role is I lead up our research and development efforts and our quality efforts. So both proactive and reactive. Let's see, I think we have Daniel Sawyer on the line. Daniel, are you up and running? All right, we'll give Daniel a minute. Scott, are you still at your computer as well, sir? Oh man, all right. Hey, it's just me, guys. They both left me. So hey, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into our into the main event here, which is the questions that were sent in for everyone's presentations. So I'm going to start with Arminzo Velardo Gomez. Arminzo, if you could introduce yourself real quickly and just give us a quick who and what for who you are and what it is you do in your company.
Yeah, so hi everyone. I currently work for ZEISS Industrial Metrology. My main focus is X-ray computer tomography, especially for metrology applications. I have been in the field for around 8 years since my PhD. I actually wrote a dissertation on this topic. So it's been always very keen to me talk about metrology with X-rays, which is not very well known. People know our CMMs and our optical systems, but X-rays is a nice feature. I'm in Michigan, so I'm happy to join you.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for that. So the first question that we had come in was regarding the so your system takes 2D, two-dimensional images and then combines them together into a three-dimensional representation. I know, whether it be photogrammetry or other similar systems, there is some, outside of the measurements and the processing, there is some cycle time to compile that final image. Can you characterize how long your system takes on? I mean, I know it's going to depend on number of pictures taken, but can you characterize how long that system takes to perform?
Yeah, you actually gave part of that answer, and the best and most concise answer is to this question is always it depends, and I'm not joking about it. Anyone that knows a little bit about refined metrology know that data quality is a function of a scan time and the number of features that you need to be measuring in the part. Happily, in X-ray 3D metrology, you can capture all the features of a part, even external and internal features, in a single scan. So that's a great advantage. You don't need to do multiple scans for each different feature in a different run. So regarding the time required for 3D data acquisition, it can take anywhere from just a few minutes to tenths of minutes, or even in some cases, times that are longer than an hour. But for the sake of making fair comparisons, even if the time required for CT data acquisition might be a drawback in some cases, in several cases, this is relatively short compared to other techniques like tactile CMMs, in which you have a high density, if you have to collect a high density number of points, and you move to require an accurate representation of a complex part like this, you need to do several measurements. In X-ray CT, you can do that in a single scan, and longer acquisition time can often be tolerated as if the characteristic to be evaluated cannot be evaluated with other instruments like tactile CMMs or optical, which is the key of X-ray inspection. It's a non-destructive evaluation. See for internal features, you don't need to destroy the part.
Okay, great. So I saw the part you were holding in your hand was very small. I know some of your sample parts you were showing, and in general, when I think of CT scanning, I think of small parts. But does this scale up to something like the size of a large casting? Something maybe the size of a desk, like a computer desk, or even larger than that. Is that possible? Are people doing that?
Yes, that's possible with X-ray CT in general. And depending on the definition of large, which you have given good examples. If we are talking, for example, of a casting of the size of an engine block that goes inside of a car, you are probably good to go with a flat panel detector and a just X-ray source, the classical X-ray CT system, for which there are several possibilities out there, including other type of systems we build in-house. So X-rays CT technologies can absolutely address those measurements of large casting. But now for the application that I presented, which is MTX application specifically, which is a new development that I presented last week, we are trying to solve a problem that nobody has done before, which is to do proper dimensional metrology for very, very small samples that require scanning resolutions that not many instruments can achieve right now with the rigor that a metrology solution implies, meaning that you need to be highly accurate and precise. So the MPG specifications that I provide last week are valid for a 5 millimeters field of view, so and using the 4X lens. So we are talking about very small samples with the X-ray microscopes that we build in-house that not only use flat panel, but also has a set of lenses. And as I mentioned during my presentation, this is the only solution of its kind right now, because it combines high resolution microscopy with high precision metrology. Nothing has been done in this field before commercially at 2 micron level. So until now, of course.
So that leads in perfectly to the next question I have, which is what's the what is the next frontier for this field of using combining that microscope technology and that X-ray technology? What is the next major improvement that you see really changing the way this technology works?
So right now, and the systems we build in-house have several set of lenses. So you can get typically an X-ray system is composed of a flat panel and X-ray source, and that is limited because it just use geometrical magnification. What we have in-house is that added to that geometrical magnification, we have optical magnification. So that gives us the advantage of combining both and get higher resolution. And of course, for each optical magnification, we have several set of lenses. We started with a 4X lens, and now we're gonna probably launch this as a product and test the market. And if everything goes well, the next step will be go even higher in resolution with the 20X lens or the 4X lens, depending on how much application we see in the field. For right now, I think we can be good with the 4X lens because we can scan industrial samples like the camera of a smartphone, and that's one of the examples I show, which is very small.
Right.
We could scan it without destroying the part,
Right.
and it's the only way to do it because not optical, not tactile can access those internal features. So your specific answer, the question to your answer, yes, there is room for improvement, but we need to test the applications first.
Okay, great. I have one last question, very specific. Hold on a second here. I think I need to share my screen to do it. All right, let me bring it up here. So this is, to me, is vital here.
We get to
Oh, man.
the particle or Josh Philippi 0.
I hear some noise in the background.
1 year 2.
Yeah, somebody's got some background noise going on.
Yeah, it's gone.
Hey, Scott, can you make me a presenter real quick, Scott? Perfect. Okay. So we were, everybody see my screen now?
Yes.
So we were treated to your lab partner there during your presentation, but I watched your video twice and did not get a name for your cat there. So could you enlighten us?
Yes, that's my cat. Her name is Lily. She's actually here right now. She's sleeping. But, yeah, and it's become quite famous. But because everywhere I go, I always present this slide because this technology used to be called CAT scan.
Right.
So I made fun with that, and I work with Andrew Ramsey, which is right now with us. In the past, we worked together. I am a former employee from Nikon.
Okay, great.
City as well.
That's fantastic. Arminzo, thank you so much for answering our questions.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your questions. Very interesting ones. Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd like to ask a question, if I may, Justin, before you take this back over.
Yep. No, absolutely.
So I've talked to many of you. I've seen lots of you by email. I've talked to all of you. My name is Dan Sawyer, and I actually work with the National Institute of Standards and Technology. I've been involved with CMSE since 1998 or so, way back when we started the laser tracker standard. I did a lot of work on that myself. And so my interest is education, but more importantly, I need to find out what it is that folks in manufacturing need from the Nation Standards Laboratory to help improve their business and make a better environment for fair competition. So one of the things we engage in is standards development. But and that requires a lot of participation from folks like you, and we're happy with that. The other thing that we're also frequently tasked with is calibration, but more importantly, uncertainty estimation in task-specific measurements. One thing that I don't hear very often at CMSE is uncertainty. And I'm just kind of curious, for practitioners such as yourself, what does the role of uncertainty play in your lives? Is that something that your customers are talking to you about often? Is it something that when they buy technology from you, or do they just assume the instrument's good enough and we can go and measure? I'm curious. You go through presentations, hundreds of them, and you make see the word uncertainty.
So I could start if I could. So for purchasing an instrument, the main spec that they look when they're looking for metrology is the maximum permissible error specification, which any instrument that is supposed to be a metrology instrument by definition, it has to have it. Otherwise, nobody with a reasonable understanding of metrology is going to buy it because it needs to have an MPE, a maximum permissible error. And customers kind of take that as the first approach to a rough idea of what the uncertainty is, But you know, that's not the definition of uncertainty or uncertainty analysis. That's just maximum permissible error, and it's just a component. It's a comparison against a calibration. Typically, customers don't spend the time doing an uncertainty analysis unless they are in research or in universities, because it's time expensive and it's money expensive. You need to make sure that the temperature is all right, that all the right factors are minimized, and then you can do a formal uncertainty budget with all the components and do the root square analysis and all of that. So you see a lot of that in publication and in national labs, but customers, the people that just walk through the street and do manufacturing, they just assume that if they have an MPE statement or a maximum permissible error, then they're good to go, and they apply the rule or 1 to 4 or 1 to 10, depending on what standard they are following. Is that the tolerances for the parts that they are checking need an instrument that has an MPE or an uncertainty that is 1/4 of that tolerance. In the past, it used to be 1/10, but tolerances have become so tight that now we're hearing that a ratio of 1 to 4, it's okay.
Yeah, it's amazing what's going on in manufacturing. I look at laser trackers and the ranging capability. You send me a laser tracker now, it's 1-to-1, because when my uncertainty to the uncertainty in the instrument, all I can say is I can fail to prove you wrong in some cases, right? But innovation has gone that far, and that's some information. But I understand you're right. 10-to-1, the gauge maker gone forever in most cases. 4-to-1 if you're lucky, and 1-to-1 and off with interferometric measurements. Does anyone else have? Thank you very much, Arminzo. And you know, I'm actually glad to hear that, because oftentimes those MPEs come directly out of documentary standards. And folks on my staff spend a lot of time working both at the ISO and the ASME to make sure those specifications represent something that's realistic. They're developed with a full analysis of the instrument and some sensitivity analysis, so it gives you some powerful information. But you're right, that's different from task-specific measurement uncertainty. Thank you.